Hello all, a very good evening. My name is Ankur Jajpuria and I would like to welcome you all to the 8th session of Isola GUPSHUP series. Just a few general instructions before we start. You have to keep your camera off and your microphones on the mute mode for a seamless presentation. The presentation screen will be shared by the host and the speaker, so kindly refrain from accidentally presenting in between. We are excited to have with us architect Kapil Sachdeva. Kapil is a graduate in architecture from Isola School of Architecture, Jaipur, and he's a postgraduate in landscape architecture from CEPT University. Currently, he has a landscape architecture consultancy firm, COOD, which is Consortium of Design, which is based in Jaipur. To mention some of his accolades, Kapil has won a national award for his postgraduate thesis. Welcome, Kapil.
Hello, Ankur. Hello, Ankur. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, all. Hello, all.
Yeah, we
As
would like to hear something about your practice.
yeah. So our practice basically started in 2014, and actually we are doing majorly landscape projects. They vary a lot much in they vary a lot in the kind of styles that we are into, in vernacular themes, in contemporary themes, and rustic themes, and that I would share in the presentations coming here. Uh,
Yeah, thanks, Kapil. So just before you share your screen, I would like to tell everyone that the question answer session will be at the end of the presentation. So in the end, you will start typing in the chat box. So Kapil, can you share your screen, please?
yes. Can you see the screen? Hello.
Yes, yes, we can see
Yes.
it.
Okay.
Please
Okay.
continue.
So hello all, and thank. I would first like to thank Isola Gujarat chapter and Isola Rajasthan chapter for giving me the opportunity to present some of our works in GUPSHUP series session 8. So the topic of my presentation is ideations and reflections. So ideations is nothing but whenever we are awarded with any project. So there is always a kind of idea that takes forward, maybe by its name, maybe by the kind of project it is. So there are a lot many ideas that keep cropping up as soon as we start working on it. Maybe when we go to the site, maybe when we hear the program, or maybe when we start looking into the functional aspects. So there are various aspects that keep coming in, and the amalgamation of all these aspects is what we try to reflect in the kind of landscape that we actually design. So maybe it could be typology spaces, it could be something related to existence of nature, maybe the existence of edges, and many more aspects that are there. So it is not only ideas, but ideas also are carried forward in form of various processes. So processes actually decide in what direction the project may go, or it may even improve the project in certain way, or it may even deviate the theme as soon as we start working on this project. So process is very important in any kind of a design exercise. So this is the basic structure of the presentation that we are going to present to you, and it will be just like we will keep highlighting you the processes, and behind those processes there are many thoughts that keep happening. So the process is a very important factor in whatever design we do. So I would start with the first project. First project is a residential landscape in Tiger Hills, Udaipur. Firstly, I would like to thank Ram Gupta Architects for awarding us this project of residential landscape. I will just briefly introduce this project. It was just a half-acre site, and it was situated amidst a lot of hilly terrains. So if you can see in this map, if you just see the location on the northern side, there were mountainous ranges, and the view of mountain range was very much prevalent even when we were standing on the site. But maybe due to the considerations of security, maybe just because of the considerations of security, as soon as we build a certain kind of high wall, maybe of the order of 7 to 8 feet, somehow the views were disturbed. So I will just explain you how the actual design process went. The site was more or less flat; it did not have a lot of slopes. So first idea that came to our mind was that why shouldn't we raise the plinth of the building so that actually we enjoy the nature even while we are sitting inside. The orientation of the building was towards the north, so north facade being most of the time it will remain shaded. So we try to give certain kind of seating areas on that side, and it will remain shaded for most of the time. And even if the walls were high and we had placed the building at a bit higher level, so we can actually enjoy the nature and we can see the mountains in an uninterrupted way every time. So this is how it started in terms of building placement. There are always inspirations and ideations. That's what our presentation is telling you. So Louis Bergen has always inspired us. Maybe it gives a sense of mystery to the visitor that what is happening ahead of this. Maybe there are certain walls, a screen wall or something. Maybe there are certain kind of sound of water that comes in a campus and we don't know from where the sound is coming, and then slowly and slowly we actually start participating there and we see then from where the sound is coming. And maybe a kind of linear water body or linear pathway that actually leads to certain direction that will also create a sense of surprise. So these were the basic, very basic three-dimensional diagrams that we made, 3Ds that we made. And if you just see the first one, there is a kind of a screen wall that I already told you, and maybe there you can see a brim of water there, and you just whenever you enter, you just hear the sound of water, and you are just very much you are in a sense of surprise that from where the sound of water is coming, and then slowly and slowly when you keep entering, and then you will actually see from where the sound is coming. And considering mountains as a major criteria, we even thought of why can't we integrate that kind of a character in our project. So even existence of mount was in some way related to that, and even if we have mount, we are somewhere related to mountains in certain other way. And even we thought of making a pyramidal mounts at the south lawn so that it gives a connection to the nature in some way or the other. And there are certain linear paths or linear water bodies which will align us in certain other direction. So this is just a zoning map, and I'll just come up on the final map that has been evolved. So as soon as we enter, we have certain screen walls. We don't know where the garden is, and then slowly we enter from a narrow path, and the north garden is revealed. So this is a driveway that we have seen. Various accent features are there in front of every window, maybe in front of dining and kitchen, so that whenever you are standing even inside, you actually appreciate those kind of elements present. And this is south lawn, private lawn for their own private use. We had a family of 6 people, so we had to give various opportunities for them to actually enjoy this kind of a landscape. So it started with the entrance experience. If you can see that as soon as you enter, you have a brim of water visible. You have a very partial view to the landscape, but you don't get a very complete view. So as soon as you enter, you just hear the sound of water coming in, and you are surrounded by walls. So as soon as you come inside, you actually see from where this water is coming, and you have a very massive spout which is giving the sound of water as soon as we enter. So somewhere the line of these elements that were present was in line with the architecture that was already in place, or it was in the process of construction. So even if you see here, this is a linear water body which is visible from the drawing room and maybe from the terrace. It gives a sense of direction. Maybe it gives a connection to the mountain ranges also in the north direction. So somehow, even if you just see in this image, if the building was very massive and had a very strong character. So just by raising raising the plinth of the building at a height of maybe 6 to 7 feet, the massiveness was very much accentuated, and it actually gave a very positive, very positive add-on feature to the building. So we even thought of various spatial qualities. This is central core. This was inside the building, and maybe the interiors were very much high and they had very clean lines. They were very contemporary. So maybe why can't we add certain kind of casual character to the central core, because it was actually a transition space from the north lounge to the living and the dining room. So if you just see this, this was a transition pathway, and we thought of various kind of casual seating. Maybe you can lie on a wooden plank and you can have your feet inside the water body, or maybe you can sit on bean bags or certain kind of casual seatings and lie down in a relaxed mode. The natural elements were anyways played in terms of plant material as well as water body. So this is what we actually this is what has been actually done here, and there are also symbolic representations of nature in some way. Maybe this double-heighted wall had a representation of tree in some way or the other. So now coming on to this south lawn of this residential villa. So we have this is south lawn, and we very much cater to the idea of access, and respecting those access we had actually designed. So even when you are inside your living room, or even when you are coming from a central court, you see a very linear water body which leads us to a particular which leads us to a accent feature or a feature to look for. And also various features like a placement of gazebo was in line with the living room. And when you are inside, just you appreciate the gazebo that is right amidst the water body. And even if you are sitting below this jhula feature, so you appreciate this gazebo as well as water feature. So this is another axis that is coming from the planters that are on the side. So we thought of this was a 3D that has been built up. So if you see, this is a linear water body coming all together from a living room. This is a very strong axis. Even if you are sitting on this wooden plank, you appreciate this gazebo, and even while you are sitting on the gazebo, you can actually have a view of the living room here. And this is another kind of a seating opportunity. So there were opportunities of covered space, semi-covered space, and open spaces in this smaller private garden. So this was what the result that we got, and the client also had things in his mind that why can't I watch TV when I am sitting on the gazebo. So the gazebo was actually designed considering the orientation of that. Even if he sits here and he can have his speakers outside, and even if the TV is on inside, he can appreciate the television while sitting in the landscape. So even while you are sitting on a Jhula feature, you appreciate this kind of a landscape in terms of water body, a gazebo, and a view to the screen wall. So this was a screen wall which was actually intended to screen the kitchen garden at the back. But since the building was very massive and the building was very strong, so we did not want anything very massive here. So we made this structure in a very in MS, so that it is not very harsh on this place. And even if you see, there are many horizontal lines, so maybe complementing the character of the building in some way. So I will just now we'll go on to the another project, that is village resort. There has been general notion in the mind of people that landscape is something to do about plant material, landscape is something to do about nature in terms of existence of water bodies, maybe landform or many other character. But this was altogether a different challenge to us. So it was a Rajasthani themed village situated on Agra Road, Bharatpur. So I'll just give you the brief introduction. So what the program of the campus was, that we actually wanted to attract tourists that came to Agra or maybe Jaipur. Jaipur, Agra, and Delhi has been a major tourist triangle, that tourists generally go to Agra or Jaipur to see these kind of heritage structures, or maybe the kind of life that had been existing in the Rajasthan, or maybe in the palaces in Delhi or something. So this is what the program was told to us by the client. Maybe in terms of cultural performances, maybe puppet shows, maybe magicians could show their magic, or maybe henna or mehndi or work. So this was the program. The site is only 40 kilometers away from Agra, and it is very much near to the main highway, Agra Jaipur highway. And even if you are standing on the highway, you can at least see the boundary wall of this site. So the site was taken considering that parameter also, so that it is visible from the main highway. So it was almost a flat site with very gentle slopes to various points, and it was farms all around with scanty trees at various intervals. So this was the mood board, or maybe what you can say that actually we studied the character, that how if we want to attract foreign tourists, so to what things they get attracted. Maybe the culture of Rajasthan, that is it was actually a study of culture that we looked into, that how various built units come together, how the elements of landscape are, maybe in terms of plinths, maybe in terms of walls, maybe in terms of plinths around a tree, or huts of bamboo. So various kind of elements were there, and we started thinking about all these elements, and it was a very interesting process for us. And we even thought there are always inspirations and ideations that keep coming in our mind. So why can't we add certain kind of a modernism, or maybe a kind of a modern feel to the campus? Korea has inspired many architects, many landscape architects. So he has always been a sense of inspiration, that why can't we give the Indianness to modern architecture? Being in Pink City, maybe we can add certain traditional elements also inspired us. And other campuses like Sanskriti Kendra and all, Sanskriti Kendra has been a very good example of vernacular architecture. So this was the process we started at any this the site was as huge as 1.6 hectares. So we had to deal with first the layers of landscape in terms of drainage, in terms of topography, in terms of slope. So we actually had the survey map, and we started drawing that where the water will come, and on these pockets what functional things should be there. So should there be certain built units, or should there be certain areas where the water could be recharged, maybe in terms of plantation, maybe in terms of units that are actually maybe recharge wells or something like that. And many ideas that keep coming to us, that should it be like fort, should it be like something random walls that are actually prevalent in a village setup, or maybe a kind of random circular huts in which the plinths could be used for performances or something, or maybe a kind of a rectangular hut. So there were a lot many things that kept coming in my mind, in our mind, and then we explored them in other ways. So we thought of various experiences. It was not only experience of village. So first of all, as soon as a person enters, he has the two walls on both the sides, and he sees that the walls are done in a very traditional way. He goes to the reception, and then after taking the ticket, he experiences the forest. So forest has two pathways, one leading to the village, and another one was a party lawn, if you can see in this green color. So party lawn had a very functional advantage here, so that if a client wants to have another smaller functions, even if the village is running parallelly, so that was a major feasibility criteria for him, so that even if there is off season for tourists, so and the campus feasibility can be worked out here. And so this was the experience of forest. So from forest you either go to a party lawn, or either you go to a village setup. So village setup had these circular huts with plinths and performances areas. So even if the climatically, we even thought of orienting all these performances areas opposite to the direction of sun. So maybe at evening time the sun sets in the west. So we kept the direction of all these plinths in north direction, and this was the central stage that was kept in the southeast direction. So even if the people are seeing certain performances, so nature should not play a negative role to them. We should always respect nature. And this was the next experience was after huts. The next experience was of the village tree and community plinth, that even in the villages of Rajasthan, or maybe whole India, the community gatherings happen around tree in some way or the other. And then there was experience of farmlands. This was in phase 2. So why can't we have an experience of rooms in the farmlands? So there were many kind of shapes we started drawing in terms of lines, niches. We started drawing various lines. We started drawing various kind of niches. Maybe they are contemporary, maybe they are in vernacular field. So there were many things and many inspirations gave us these kind of patterns. So we started making these kind of niches on the side. The left one image that I am showing you is an experience wall. So when a person is going through these walls, he experiences these niches with lit up diyas inside. And there are certain walls which you see from a distance. So we actually appreciate those shapes when you are at a distance. And this is the wall of the party lawn from both the sides. One has these plinths. So just like any other city, maybe if we take the example of Pink City, Jodh, or Blue City, or maybe Blue City, Jodhpur, or maybe other cities in which maybe if the character of walls is something different, but even if we paint these walls in the same color, so it all gets tied up to the same kind of a aura. So we started painting these walls in the same color, and it had a very tinge of even modernism also, and it has also a feeling of a vernacular architecture here. So this is a very interesting transition we are showing you here. So this was the main gateway of the campus. Initially, we started drawing certain stepped or a staggered piers for this, so that it gives a very kind of vernacular feel. And maybe if we start adding a pointed Mughal arch, so it gave a feeling of maybe the gates of Jaipur. And it was we don't have to get we don't have to mimic anything, but we have to develop our own style. So this was actually the final resultant on the right side, and it gave a true picture of maybe the tradition of Rajasthan as well as the village setup. It has these niches, it has these jharokhas, it has these huts. So this was a very massive entrance we actually made so that it is even visible from the highway. So even if somebody is going through this highway, he will actually catch the attention of these very big gates. So it had all these traditional elements. The base was very massive and broad enough so that it gets a fortified character. Above there are jharokhas and jhopris and these dishes, traditional dishes. So, and we even integrated various kind of elements which are traditional, which are used in these rural practices. Molala artwork was one which was integrated in the design of walls. Even Mandna painting has been very much practiced in many villages. We integrated that. We even took matka and made various compositions that if we even make the walls of matka. We even thought of giving the certain kind of feeling of wooden lamp post or wooden hut in some way or the other. It is actually called as Bengali work here, and it is actually made in concrete, and there are various motifs that could be done in here. So this was the actual result we got, and even the client was very much insistent that we should give grass here, we should have paver blocks here. So it is not necessary that we should overdo certain places. We should actually know the character of village, the kind of cultural landscape that is existing in a village setup. So there were various walls, there were various plinths that were happening, there were various edges of the building around, and these were used for cultural performances. And this was a matka wall here and a forest kind of an experience here. So this was the interface between the built and unbuilt, and how these plinths could be used for performances. Maybe they are used for even certain have a photographic point or certain things like that, which will give a character, which will give a feeling that we are sitting in a village. So this was the kind of place that we achieved. It is not necessary that we should have everything in a very dense green way. This was the character we thought of for a village. It has, since Rajasthan is a desertic, lot of desert is there. So if even if we have that kind of a feeling in this kind of a lush green site between the farms. So and these were various walls that had been made. This is a boundary wall. This is the entrance wall on the east side that has been made. And there were various walls that I'm showing you here. One is the wall when we enter. This is the entrance wall. So this was the interface, this was the main entry to the campus. It had the character of a grand gate, maybe of certain old cities, or maybe it had the character of a rural setup in terms of huts, even these brackets that are there, even the niches that are already existing here. So I'll just come on to the next project. It is a very smaller project and it is very close to our heart. This was a cafe in Seascape, Jaipur. We would like to thank Ram Gupta Architects for awarding this project. So this was actually a parking lot of 1600 square feet here, and it was very mundane. It was very uninviting. It did not have any kind of a attractive feature, and it was surrounded by buildings which were like 10 to 12 stories higher. So the client had a opinion that why shouldn't we make something which attracts attention, because it is actually a subsidiary space which will be hidden by even these parked cars here. So this is how it started. The name of the cafe was Rola Rappa. So why we thought, why can't we take this theme to a next level? The name, taking the name from rolls, and why, since it has those kind of a, we can use it as, we can give a theme of circles in this campus. So we started drawing various circles, maybe in terms of elevation, maybe in terms of flooring, maybe in terms of various kind of elements, maybe the artifacts or the elements that we bring in could be in these kind of a shape. So this was just the development that started happening. Initially we thought of why shouldn't we give importance to every group that is coming here. Maybe every group should feel important, that they have their own private seating here. And then there were various constraints that kept coming in, maybe in terms of circulation spaces, and also there were balustrades in the center of the whole site. So we had to divide this site into two halves, because since this was a rented property, we cannot break anything here. So this was a plan that we got. We thought of various groups that will keep coming. Couples are not only important, but a group of three friends has always been important. I'm sure you also would have be a part of a trio, and maybe a group of friends would be there, maybe 8 to 10 friends. So we thought of every group of people that will keep coming here, and the kind of various experiences. If certain couple wants to sit in isolation, or if they want to sit in the center, so they will have various opportunities to sit here. So we took, not only in planning terms, we even thought of various elements that could be integrated in the design. We thought of these cable rows that are actually not used later on when the cable is used, or maybe the concrete rings that are used in soak pits, a old kadhai which is we can use it from a waste, and kota stone is a very cost-effective material here, and we can use these wooden logs that are used in shuttering, or any kind of a bamboo logs which are very low cost. And this was a completely hands-on exercise. So we started putting these cable rolls on the walls in a very random way. There were no drawings prepared for this. We were there on the site, and we arranged these in a kind of a composition, and we started drawing the kind of shapes on the site, and how even the shapes were accentuated by the kota stone cobbles in a circular way, and these concrete rings that were placed on the elevation. So it actually attracts the attention, and we use these kind of cable rolls. We chopped it to a suitable shape so that it could be used for a table, or it is comfortable to sit. And considering the youngsters that keep coming to the cafe, they like bright colors, they like selfie points. So various options of these selfie points were made. That and even we took the theme to another level, that we painted the whole place in green and yellow colors. And since they like casual seatings also, we inculcated these casual seating. This was how the 3D was made, and this is how the space, we can actually see that gray one is the circulation space, and by the bed, this is crete bed in which there are various kind of seatings that are happening. And the center one is the entrance way, in which there are a lot of circular mushrooms that we made. These were nothing but the waste cable rolls that were left with us, and wooden logs. So we actually made these mushrooms on the entrance to actually attract the attention. So this was the space we got. There were lot many colors. There were lot many bright colors. There were lot many elements which caught the attention. Maybe even if you see this iron, so this iron was used to keep tissues and other cutlery. And we even got this card from old junk which could be used as a feature. This was a night view we got. If we even see the kind of lighting we had done, the circular geometry was very much accentuated. You can actually appreciate the surface even if they are at night time also, since maybe they won't be visible without light. So, and even this kadai that could be used for seating purposes, and how these circular patterns were highlighted by LED strip lights all around. So there were various edges. We respected the edges. We achieved the edges in every way. We achieved edges on plan. We achieved those edges in elevation in every way. So the next project, that is a weekend home that is very much near to Jaipur city. It had the inspiration of modern architecture also, and even it was actually situated in farms. So we thought of why. I'll just explain you the how we went on with this project. So first, briefly, I will introduce where it was and what was the situation. So it was this project was awarded to us, and we were given only we were only awarded this plot of land which was very linear, and it was actually a 1.2 acre site, but the site where we had to do the landscape was only 0.4 acres, and it was a very linear site, and the pathway was already existing. There was an old temple that was made and a building that was under construction. So it was facing north side. Considering all the considering the situation that was into, it was farmland. So we thought of why can't we integrate that kind of character in our project. So since it is farmland, maybe the kind of plantation that could be there, or maybe the kind of experiences that we have while we go through the farms, or maybe these bamboo screens that are present in the kind of a farm situation, or these huts that are there. So I'll just explain you the plan. Considering the orientation and climatic aspects, the north side will always remain shaded. Most of the time it will remain shaded. Swimming pool had been a very important factor for them because it was their weekend home, so they want to enjoy swimming pool. So the kind of seating areas were given on the northern side, a kind of a lavish seating, and swimming pool was screened from all around in a particular way that I'm going to share with you in the coming slide. So if you just see these red spots, these are nothing but seating spaces. One space is actually in a shade, and another space, one space is in shadow, and another space is shaded by the roof of the building. And on the south side, if you see, there are various opportunities of seating that I am going to tell you, and how we actually integrated the building with temple. We connected this building with the kind of a continuous mount with the temple. So this was a plan that we achieved. As soon as you enter, you have a wall, you have a kind of a temple here, and this was a kind of a public lawn, a swimming pool. And on the south side, there are various opportunities I'm going to tell you. This was the shaded space that I was talking about, and this is a kind of a covered space below the building in which you can actually enjoy the lily pool. And this was just a very smaller outdoor room for maybe 5 to 6 people, in which they, if they want certain kind of privacy, so they can sit here. So the entrance of this campus, we tried to think of, since the axis of the main gate and the existing road was not in one line. So why can't we do? Why we took it as an opportunity? We introduced a curved wall here. So curved wall actually gave a sense of surprise to that what is happening ahead, and it even actually we can hide this whole building, hide this whole landscape as soon as we enter, because the right side that was not actually very much maintained. It had very old kind of a character, and we were actually designing the eastern side of the plot. So it actually contributed that we can actually hide this kind of a landscape, and it will even create a sense of surprise. So there were various opportunities of entrances we tried to give, maybe in terms of steps and mounts, and maybe by plant material, or maybe by certain kind of smaller structures. So even if you see, the steps were very much integrated with the mount. They don't look very much imposing. The kind of detailing that was done was such that it looks a part of a mount. And even these kind of vertical pillars that were introduced, they were intended so that we can tie this whole site from this side and this side. Otherwise, one side would look very much designed, and another side would not look very much designed. So this was intentionally done so that we tie this. And how I told you about these vertical bamboo screens that are there, so we took it to another level in an abstract modern way, and we designed these fences around the swimming pool. So these were the various access around the pool. One was, if I tell you this lower left image, so this was the kind of view when somebody is sitting in front of the lily pool. And this is the top image. If I see, this was the entrance to the swimming pool area from the driveway. So you have a very smaller kind of an outdoor room where certain 4 to 5 people can actually enjoy this kind of a semi-shaded space. And the feeling of farms was also accentuated here, maybe by providing this kind of fountain grass. It gives a feeling of farm here. So this was the view from when you are sitting out in a shaded space, and you have a view of this lily pool and a floating kind of a deck here and a kind of an outdoor room here overlooking lily. So this was a proximity to the building which has these vertical fences which reminded us of these bamboo screens, and these were the kind of smaller outdoor rooms that were there. This was a shaded space on the north side. It actually remained shaded for most of the time. So I'll come on to the south part of this. This was a kind of for the private use. We had thought of various possibilities. One could be an open space which is open to sky. Another could be a private space. Another could be a private space. Another could be contained and overlooking. And we thought of various accesses. So this was actually the result we thought of and we achieved. So this is the kind of a private space. If some people want to have a privacy, they want to talk here, so they will come. They will feel a part to be a part of nature here. And this is a kind of a transition space. This is fully open space. This is a covered overlooking space to the view to the balcony and here. So even I would tell you this kind the gazebo that was here, and we had a bedroom on the south side, and it had a very blank wall. So maybe considering those climatic aspects, we planted very dense trees here that will grow in the time to come, maybe like 7 to 8 years. But this bedroom will be very much comfortable after a certain time, just due to the presence of the shade of the trees. And these were various opportunities, maybe a kind of an open space, semi-open and closed space. So a kind of a place, semi-covered space where people can even have it can use it as a fireplace also. They can sit around and put a table, and they can actually eat here. So a lot of activities are also thought of while we are designing things, and this is a place where you can have a kind of a seclusion. If you want to have a privacy, you can feel to be a part of nature. You have plantation all around, and you have your own cozy space to deal with. And we thought of various kind of plantation that would exist in a kind of situation, because farmlands may not be that much maintained, and maybe we can't have that kind of delicate plantation which requires a lot of maintenance. So we had the kind of plantation which even has the flowering all around the season. Euphorbia milli is one kind of plantation which doesn't require a lot of water, and canna also will give flowers around the season. We have fountain grasses, we have lilies here. We even thought of other layer of landscape is that water has been very important resource for Rajasthan, and not only for Rajasthan but the whole world as well. The water is a very important resource. So we actually divided the site into two parts. So the northern part will have the water coming onto the northeast side, and other one will come to the southwest side, which already had a borewell here. So we actually collected this whole water here by various kind of pipelines and chambers, and this water came to a particular situation, and we bought various old water tanks in which the water could be stored. We had around 10 to 12 plastic water tanks put inside the earth surface, so that they will even remain cool, and even they can be used at a later stage. And the excess water was put around the existing borewell, so that excess water could be given back to the mother earth. So this is how we dealt with in various aspects. So these were all the projects we have done. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to present our works.
Thank you, Kapil. Thank you for a very informative presentation. And yes, we have seen lots of varieties in your projects. And you're correct that the process is very important in a landscape project. So, I mean, just out of curiosity, I want to ask you something. So, whenever a project is awarded to you, you have a vision you have a vision for the place to be, and then you move on to the process, and the process gradually undergoes, and then you achieve the finished product. So, I mean, according to you, what is the percentage of the actual image that have you achieved it or not in all of your project? Is it like the exact image that you envisioned, and do you feel that the process was correct, or it needed some tweaking in between, or you actually went on the you know exact way?
See, process is something which takes us in particular direction, but there are lot many factors that contribute to us. First of all, maybe when we are designing with the building, so initially we may have a different kind of a picture. Maybe even the architect has many things in his mind that the color combination of the building would be like this or maybe like this. So maybe with the process of time, maybe the color palette may even change, or maybe many things keep on changing. Maybe in the middle of the design process, maybe there is altogether a new program that client says that I want to have this thing. So we try to inculcate all these things, and the process is altogether a ongoing process. Process is altogether it keeps on going, and initially I think at certain locations we have been successful in what we thought on the first instance, but at various situations maybe the things actually progress in an altogether different direction. So we cannot give an exact percentage to that because I think it is not a very
Yeah.
calculated thing. Yes.
Okay. So we have a first question. So how was your experience, and how did you manage interacting and working with the local artisans and the artists in the Rajasthani resort?
Yeah, it was a very interesting process. First of all, it was a way far off from Jaipur. It was in Bharatpur. So first of all, understanding their local language also was initially a bit a task to us because uh, that was altogether a different thing. And even I went on to see their works first. I just asked them, "Ki, what have you done till now, and what things you have made?" And we even gave them some time to think ki in this campus what all artifacts what you can make, or what all things that you can add on. So it was just a one-to-one process, and it took around maybe 1 or 2 months maybe with that Mulala art guy. So we even thought of why can't we add certain stories to this campus, maybe the life of Lord Krishna, because it was in Bharatpur, so it was in that zone of Govardhan. So he can actually depict that kind of a story in the walls. So somewhere he was able to do that.
Okay. So I would request all to please type your questions in the chat box. So, Kapil, what is your take on the kind of planting? I mean, you find for especially in this region. So, what is your take on the kind of planting varieties which you try to do in your projects?
See that I think that depends a lot on the kind of project because the kind of rooms, outdoor rooms that we want to create. Somewhere we want to have very high kind of a screening, so maybe we can have certain bamboo plantation or vertical taberna montana or many kind of species. That actually depends on the situation. We cannot have a very exact palette of plant material that will be universal everywhere, but because every time uh, we get a new project, we actually have to see the situation, because see in certain situations even the planting may not survive, so that is a holistic study that we have to do, you see.
Okay. So, we have a question from Mr. Sheikh. So keeping in mind the temperature in Rajasthan and Jaipur, what is the material palette you prefer or you consider?
See, material palette is something generally he's asking in terms of civil works or maybe flooring works or any
Yeah,
kind of a.
maybe I guess general material palette or maybe like finishing materials or so, I think.
See, the criteria, first of all, maybe we try to give certain things which do not attract lot of kind of uh, which do not attract lot of heat. Maybe we do not give very dark colors somewhere, and maybe even if we are giving certain dark colors, we try to have a kind of a matte feeling or a kind of a texture which doesn't reflect a lot of light or it doesn't create a lot of glares. And in a landscape where like I'll just tell you in residential project of Udaipur, uh, the the sun was very harsh, and we always try to give certain kind of matte finish floorings so that it doesn't create very much of a glare. And even the client was very fascinated, why can't we use granite here in a polished way? So practically it is not very suitable also, and there are a lot of glare problems with that also. So there are a lot many considerations in those terms.
Okay. Uh, we have a next question with from I guess Eco Envision Design Studio. I guess it's Aparna ma'am. So, can you throw some light on the lighting design of the village resort? Did you incorporate any kind of artwork in that too?
Yeah, lighting has been a very important here aspect here. Even if we see a kind of a village setup, the lighting has to be a very kind of a. It doesn't have to be overly done. It has to be very dim kind of light. So we actually integrated lanterns here. We bought various old lanterns, or maybe we purchased new lanterns, and we did those Bengali works of that is done of concrete. That is actually done of concrete, and it looks as if it's done of wood. So these were the actual bollards that were customized considering the situation. They were like 2 feet height or 3 feet height, and they had a very kind of a dim light. The lighting doesn't have to be very bright, and even if somebody is looking at the performances, so maybe the performances are very important, but maybe the facial expressions may not be that important, like an amphitheater, like a very big amphitheater or something. So we tried to give a very kind of a dim lighting here with at various pockets.
Okay. So, next question is from Miss Kumareshwari. Uh, does she like the way that you integrated the traditional and the cultural elements in your project? So she's asking what was, I mean, incorporate many tradition and cultural elements were incorporated. So what was the cost involved in these projects? Were they on the expensive side or how do you rate it in terms of expenses?
Yeah, obviously, it was on a very higher side, and we are very much thankful to the clients. Whatever complex shapes that we made were actually built on the site, and it actually cost twice, I think, than a normal masonry construction. Even constructing of one gate took around 2 months, because we had to do a masonry, that solid masonry we had to be done. Column was integrated inside, and there was also niches happening parallelly with the masonry. And even when one RCC work was done, the form work had to be left for certain days. So that was altogether, I think it was twice the cost, and it took lot of time also to construct that.
Okay, I guess we have we have lots of likes for a presentation, lots of congratulations on this variety, the portfolio and the kind of presentation. So we have another question from Bobby sir. This couple, it was interesting to see how you blend with the kind of architectural vocabulary by the architect. But have you ever walked into a project and looked at architecture and says, "Gosh, my landscape will have to be shot with this project"? So, I mean, completely rework to shy away from the architecture and do a landscape which is completely introverted, which sometimes may not be a bad idea.
Yeah, obviously, sir, it is not a bad idea, but there are a lot of opportunities that we try giving, maybe in the kind of smaller interactive or social spaces, that maybe they will have altogether a different thing, and they can, maybe I will not use the term overpower, but they will have altogether a different feeling. We try giving those kind of characters in smaller outdoor rooms, in whatever way possible, but still I think blending with architecture is a foremost thing that we should always respect. uh,
So, we have the next question from Mona. So, did you face any challenges during the incorporation of village elements in village resort?
yeah, it was a lot of challenge for us initially. We had to make various samples of the kind of niches and the proportion of those niches. I especially went to a site for a day, and we actually made a mock-up of those niches on the site, of maybe a kind of a triangular niche, maybe a kind of a niche which is kind of an arch, maybe various kind of prototypes were actually made on the very single day, because even the brick comes in a very standard size, so we cannot achieve everything of that, whatever shape we desire. So it was a it was a holistic exercise. I think we took around a month to achieve that kind of a style, and after certain time, the even the masons and even the contractor was very much equipped with what I actually wanted. So it was a very interesting exercise for us.
Okay. So, the next question is from Kaushi. Uh, how was your overall experience on a personal level in doing these projects? And what are the project types? Are these, same or different perspective you're currently working on?
Uh, can you just repeat the question?
Yeah, question is how was your overall experience on a personal level in doing these projects? And
Mhm.
like she's asking again, like, are you currently dealing in with the similar kind of projects or a very different kind of?
Yeah, the projects that we are working on are altogether different. We keep getting new projects in whatever lines, but somewhere the process, I think the process is always different for altogether a new project. Uh, so whatever project we get, there is always an idea behind it, and we take it forward. Regarding the experiences that I had, it is always a learning experience for architects. Even at the age of 60, you will keep learning new things, even if you have made many. So it was altogether a different experience of working with the masons, and even the artisans at a local level, and even various kind of horticulturists also is a very good experience to work.
So thanks a lot, Kapil, for this presentation. And I thank all the viewers for their questions. So, based on some suggestions from the few participants, we have received names of landscape firms whom they would like to hear in the future. So, what we would like to do is we take this opportunity to do the same with you all. So, what we want is you can mail us the desired names and their contacts on our email IDs, so which are gujarat.isola@gmail.com and Isola Rajasthan chapter@gmail.com. So these are mentioned in the chat box. So whoever you want to, like desired names of firms which you would like to see speak on their works and presentation, you can please send us your suggestions. So before I close, for the next weekend's presentation, we have landscape architect Yogendra Balal presenting on the topic Thoda hai, Thode ki zarurat hai. He runs his practice by the name of Taru Arav in Aurangabad. So I would like to keep following our social media pages for regular updates, and thank you all for attending this session. Like to see you next week. Thank you all.